Alright everybody, welcome back to my channel here at Shruti Karen. Thank you for a lot of those people who've sent me emails asking questions about the recent few videos that I've been creating on the 2026 DSE syllabus. Once again, if you ever have any questions, whether that be specific to a particular video, a particular topic, if you're looking for some study notes, or if you're looking for tutoring lessons, make sure that you email me at this specific email that I will leave here. I'll write it down this time because I was not able to type it. So that would be shrutikaren .k@gmail.com. Feel free to leave your questions or any concerns as such. Just as a reminder that we are still open here for tutoring center classes and tutoring opportunities. However, once it gets full, it gets a little bit difficult to get students on board. So again, if you're looking for tutoring classes and if you still haven't reached out, feel free to let me know and let me know what specific level you currently are at, and if you would like to have a placement test to kind of figure out what your levels are. Apart from this, today in this tutoring video, we're going to cover Like Rain, It Sounded Till It Curved by Emily Dickinson. And if you enjoy the video, don't forget to subscribe and like the channel. Now, in your DSE syllabus, this is kind of what it looks like, and today we will be covering this specific poem. If this ends up being much longer than usual, I will go ahead and I would split this into different parts to make this a little bit more digestible for people so that it's not super duper long. And essentially what we're trying to do is this year for the 2026 syllabus, I will try and cover the most important and I think one of the most difficult materials. I'll try and cover in terms of the poems. I, however, will not do any practice questions here on my channel. I reserve those specifically for my students who are willing to put in that extra amounts of effort for their DSE exam. So I want to give them a little bit of a competitive edge over there, but for everybody who's looking at my channel, I will consistently try my best to display videos on difficult, important materials. It will depend on the amount of demand that is there that I will see. If I feel that students are willing to have interpretations of a specific poem, I will work on those ones first. So if you have a specific poem that you would want me to cover immediately, make sure you comment them down below so that I can be a little bit more consistent as well. Of course, if I don't hear from anybody from the comment section, or if I feel that everybody is mentioning the same poem that I was thinking about, then I would go ahead and work on those. So it kind of depends. It's kind of more like a on flow that I'm currently taking an approach of. So try and be as interactive as you can. This is just a first call for anybody who is struggling maybe with literature in English, and this is your opportunity that you're getting to get help. And the only way to do that is to interact, whether it be in the comment section or by sending an email or maybe just mentioning it in the best way you can. Okay, so here, as you can see, this is kind of the poem that we would be covering, Emily Dickinson. So we're just going to move ahead here. Now this section, usually when I work with a new poet, or usually actually whenever I work with any poet, whether it be the first time or the second time, I take it as a way that someone's new to my channel and maybe they don't know about the poet, so it's always a nice way to give that a little start here. So Emily Dickinson's in fact one of the most original poets of her time. She usually has a very fascinating and interesting way of explaining things. Sometimes that comes across as being a little bit difficult for people to comprehend. It's not the world's most obvious ways. There can be a lot of implicit messages that she's trying to portray inside the poem. Now, again, every message can be very subjective when I speak about poems, but it's always the idea is how can you take this subjectiveness and apply it to some kind of reasoning? So, as long as there is some kind of reasoning, some kind of evidence that you back it up with, the subjectivity can be considered valid. Okay, now here Emily Dickinson was, of course, born on December 10th, 1830, and her father, her father her father was also an ambitious young lawyer who was educated at Yale. He returned to his hometown and joined the allying law practice of his father. So they kind of came from a very elite law, you can say, background. And she, however, was one of the family members who was a little bit more subtle in terms of her appearance in public. Her mother was seen to be someone who was a little bit more passive to her much rather dominating and domineering husband. She, of course, was a person who was a little bit more dedicated towards her education, and that's kind of how she liked to spend her time. Now, Emily herself, she was not as popular during her lifetime. She was not, of course, publicly recognized for any of her work that she's done. And she was one of those poets who became popular, I would say, after she died, and that was only possible because her family found out 40 hand-bound volumes of nearly 1,800 poems or fancicles. And the way that she kind of displayed and visualized the final versions of those poems was by sewing about 5 to 6 sheets of stationery paper and copying basically her poems to kind of depict that those were the final versions. So that's kind of how she keep her poems more organized, and that's how they figured that she had about or almost up to 1,800 poems. So that's a little bit about Emily Dickinson, and that's a little bit about her background, what exactly was happening behind the scenes. And now on to the poem. So this is the poem called Like Rain, It Sounded Till It Curved, and it is also the first line of the poem. Now, my apologies, I usually have the title and the poet name at the very top. I kind of missed it up here on the slide, but just for anyone who's interested, the title is also as the first line. Like rain, it sounded till it curved, and then I knew 'twas wind. It walked as wet as any wave, but swept as dry as sand. When it had pushed itself away to some remotest plain, a coming as of hosts were heard. It filled the wells, it pleased the pools, it warbled in the road. It pulled the spy goat from the hills and let the floods abroad. It loosened acres, lifted seas, the sights of centers stirred, and then Elijah rode away upon a wheel of cloud. So this is kind of the first reading that we kind of have. I myself usually read poems about 2 to 3 times, so if this is kind of the first time you're reading through this, I would say give this a little pause and read through the poem. Now, what I'd like you to do as a task, just to make this a little bit more interactive, and it's completely fine if you choose not to comment, and if you just do this as a solo individualistic practice for yourself, I would like you to kind of pause here for today, look through this poem, make some notes, and have some ideas of what you think this poem is talking about. A little task here for you as you know, how motivating it would feel to maybe go out to the internet, and you know, it's very tempting that you would go out to the internet and find out what the meaning of this poem means. I want you to sit down and literally think what the poem is trying to speak about. I myself have not done any research, and I have a few thoughts that I would want to share, so I will save that for the next part. I will stop this particular part of the video here, and I will be posting the part 2 of this in about 2 days from now. I will be giving each of you 2 days to whenever you see this video to figure things out. If you're watching this video and by the time you watch this, the second part's already out, try not to watch the second one just yet. Give yourself maybe a day or maybe a few hours or a few minutes. Just make sure you're sitting down yourself to figure the poem out. Take this as a moment of practice, okay? And with that, again, I'm just going to leave my email address here for anybody if you have questions. You should be also able to find it throughout the channel, across the channel, and also in the description below. And if you have any questions, this is the best place that you can reach me at, or even in the comment section below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye for now.